Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Battle Through the Heavens Part 176 based on novel. So let's start. A sandstorm blew over the endless red plains and cliffs. The crimson sun hung low in the distant sky, and a faint red light added a layer of pale red yarn over the ground, which vaguely had a blood color spreading over it. Few people were present on the red plains and cliffs. Only a wild wind continued to whistle and blow. At a certain moment, an intense spatial ripple suddenly materialized and a 100-foot large spatial black hole slowly appeared. Waves of undulations rose the moment the spatial black hole appeared. Immediately, many figures stepped into the air before slowly walking away. They finally landed on the ground. There were around 30 people in this group, and all of them appeared inconspicuous. However, if someone with truly sharp senses approached, that person would be shocked to detect the vague but frightening pressure that was spreading from them. Is this the northwestern part of the continent? An elder with a red glow to his face swept his eyes around in surprise when he landed on the ground. After which, he turned his head to a black-clothed man in the crowd. From the black-clothed man's familiar face, this group was clearly Xiao Yang's group, who had hurried from the Falling Star Pavilion to the northwestern region of the continent. Xiao Yang shook his head slightly when he heard the eldest of the Hu brothers. The northwestern part of the continent was extremely vast. The area that he knew was limited to the Jiomar Empire and some empires around it. He naturally did not know where this place was. Junior Pavilion Chief, this place should be the northern part of the northwestern region. The wormhole the Pavilion Chief built does not possess an exact spatial mark, so it can only roughly send us to the northwest. A white-haired, white-cloaked old man beside Xiao Yang looked around before finally taking out a map from his storage ring. He opened it, revealing a map that recorded the northwestern continent in detail. At this moment, half of the area on the map was occupied by a ferocious lion head. The other half was marked with a Yang character. This was likely the current territory of the Profound Lion sect and the Yang Alliance. Based on the intelligence that we have obtained, the northern part of this northwestern region has become the territory of the Profound Lion sect. In other words, we have been transported into the territory of the Profound Lion sect. However, it doesn't matter. There are not many experts from the Profound Lion sect in the northern part. Their main strength should currently be gathered at the borders of the Yang Alliance. The white-clothed elder voiced his thoughts. As long as we head southwest through a couple of passes, we should be able to reach the territory of the Yang Alliance. Xiao Yang nodded as he looked at the map. Their group had a total of 30 elite Dozuns. With this lineup, they could walk unopposed as long as they did not meet the elite forces of the Profound Lion sect or the Hall of Souls. Hence, it would not be difficult to reach the territory of the Yang Alliance. In that case, let's get moving. We can gather some information about the current news along the way. Try your best to suppress your auras. Listen to my orders and do not roam around randomly. Xiao Yang turned his head and looked to the distant southwest. After which, he waved his hand, and his toes pressed on the ground. His body turned into a ray of light that rushed away. The rushing sound of wind could be heard as the many figures followed close behind him. Xiao Yang's group rushed straight to the Yang Alliance to the southwest. They were flying over territory controlled by the Profound Lion sect. Hence, they naturally met some armies and experts from the Profound Lion sect that had been stationed along the way. However, these so-called experts were at the very most ordinary Dozones. They did not pose the slightest threat to Xiao Yang's group. Hence, they did not face any obstructions along the way, and they had also managed to inquire about the current events of the northwestern region from some of the captured experts belonging to the Profound Lion sect. Xiao Yang's heart sank when he learned of this information because the situation was deteriorating far faster than he had anticipated. The territory that the Yang Alliance had worked hard for many years in order to obtain had shrunk by a third. Moreover, this shrinking rate was increasing at a shocking speed. From this, one could tell what the powerful strength the Hall of Souls had used for this mission. From this information, Xiao Yang became aware that most of the experts in the current Yang Alliance were gathered in the mysterious Yellow Fortress at the mysterious Yellow Sky Stream. That place was the most important location to the Yang alliance other than their main camp in the Jiomar Empire. If this fortress fell, their defenses within a 1,000-kilometer radius would collapse, forcing the Yang alliance back to the Jiomar Empire. It would undoubtedly cause the bitter development of the Yang alliance to go down the drain. Hence, Yang alliance experts along with some other experts who had joined hands with the Yang alliance to resist the Profound Lion sect, had all gathered at the mysterious Yellow Fortress. With the support of the Hall of Souls, the Profound Lion sect possessed a frightening strength that could eliminate most of the factions in the northwest. After some coercion, the Profound Lion sect had gained quite a number of experts. Hence, it was difficult to find a faction in the northwestern region of the continent who could fight with them. Even the Yang alliance was at a disadvantage. The Profound Lion sect would naturally not give up the mysterious Yellow Fortress, which was a place that both parties must fight over. Based on what an expert, who had joined the Profound Lion sect, said, the current Profound Lion sect had also dispatched their true elite forces to the mysterious Yellow Sky Stream. From the looks of it, they were clearly intending on forcefully taking the mysterious Yellow Fortress to dominate this entire northwestern region of the continent. This bad news left Xiao Yang with no choice but to hasten his speed. He needed to arrive at the mysterious Yellow Fortress before the Profound Lion sect began to forcefully occupy it. Otherwise, the losses that the Yang alliance would suffer would be too great. The mysterious Yellow Sky Stream was situated between two mountain ranges. Due to its natural terrain, it had become a natural fortress that was easy to defend and difficult to attack. The sky above the sky stream blew with an extremely chilling wind. Even an ordinary expert Do Huang would not dare to touch this wind. The two mountain ranges by the side of the fortress appeared to have been hacked in two by a large sharp axe, giving it an unusually smooth appearance. Additionally, the mountains were extremely imposing. Hence, even some expert Do Huangs were unable to fly over them. The mysterious Yellow Fortress stood at the most important spot of this mysterious Yellow Sky Stream. One could only pass through this spot within a 1,000-kilometer radius. Even some of the small neighboring countries would have to pass through this place to deal with each other. Being supported by such a unique and blessed environment, the importance of the mysterious Yellow Fortress was naturally something that need not be said. The Yang alliance had paid a great price in order to obtain it. Outside of the mysterious Yellow Fortress was an endless grassy plain. If one stood on the fortress, one would be able to see every single activity within the grassy plains. However, the grassy plains were covered by a black fog at the moment. One could vaguely hear some deafening sounds being emitted. An evil aura spread and surged, causing the expressions of everyone within the mysterious Yellow Fortress to adopt a grave expression. Many buildings stood at the middle of the fortress, and there was an exceptionally majestic large building at the center. Quite a number of people were seated within the hall at this moment. However, no one spoke. The entire hall was covered in a solemn silence. Seated at the leader's seat in the hall was a red-dressed beautiful figure, who was leaning against the backrest in a somewhat lazy fashion. Her cold and bewitching face vaguely contained a fatigue. Her beautiful eyes, which were filled with an unusual enhancement, radiated the pressure and haughtiness of someone in a powerful position. This haughtiness did not pale even with the flow of time. Who else in the Yang alliance other than the Queen Medusa from back then or the current Kaelin could possess such a prideful demeanor? These few years did not cause her to change even a little. Instead, she matured and her bewitching charm became denser. Everyone, the Profound Lion sect's army is pressing us. Today, it is merely a probing attack. However, it is likely that they will formally attack us in less than 3 days. Kaelin's eyes slowly swept over the entire hall. Many familiar faces surfaced. The Ice Emperor Hai Bodong, Jiomar Empire's Pil King Jiu He, Fa Ma from back then, currently, all of them appeared slightly older now. However, their auras were far from what they could compare with back then. Clearly, their strength had improved dramatically over the years. Everyone was quiet when they heard her words. A man seated on a wheelchair by the side softly sighed. He said, "The strength of the Profound Lion sect is too strong. Their Dozun class experts far surpass us. We are no match for them in a head-on confrontation." Xiao Ding involuntarily and bitterly laughed after he spoke. Any schemes would lose their effect in the face of absolute strength. It was the first time in all these years that he was feeling so helpless. The Yang Alliance had really met with some trouble. Let's go all out and fight if there is nothing we can do. We can neither advance nor retreat, so why don't we fight until the end? A man covered with a fierce aura beside Xiao Ding spoke with an icy-cold face. That appearance was a familiar one. It was surprisingly Xiao Yang's second brother, Xiao Li. The hearts of everyone in the hall sank after hearing Xiao Li's words. Could it be that it had really come to this stage? We have yet to reach that stage. Xiao Ding suddenly shook his head amid the silence. He slowly lifted his eyes and a faint smile was revealed on his face. He softly said, based on what the little fairy doctors group said, third brother should be hurrying back to the Yang Alliance. Clamor. Xiao Ding's sentence immediately caused the eyes of most of the people in the hall to be lifted. Even Kaylin in the leader's seat suddenly focused her eyes on Xiao Ding. Xiao Ding's third brother, everyone present, even those experts who had joined the Yang Alliance later on, had heard about him despite not having personally seen him because the young man called Xiao Yang was the true founder of the Yang Alliance. The young man from back then had created many miracles. Even though the Yang Alliance was managed by Kaylin during these years, the true spiritual leader of the Yang Alliance was still that young man called Xiao Yang in many people's hearts. Xiao Ding smiled as he watched the hall turn into an uproar because of this name. He exchanged glances with Xiao Li by the side. Both of their eyes contained a faint pride. This pride originated from their blood sibling, the young man called Xiao Yang. Third brother, it has been a long time since you left. It is time to return. Xiao Ding's eyes stared at the night sky outside of the hall and muttered in his heart. The rushing sound of wind was suddenly transmitted across an endless serene blue sky. Immediately, dozens of black figures arrived from the distance. Within a couple of blinks, they stepped through the air and appeared on a green mountain. Junior Pavilion Chief, the area in front of us is the territory of the Yang Alliance. Based on our speed, we should be able to reach the mysterious yellow sky stream by evening, a white-robed elder swept his eyes around after landing on the mountain. He spoke to Xiao Yang beside him with a respectful tone. Xiao Yang slightly nodded. His eyes swept over his group and involuntarily smiled. This powerful lineup might not be extremely powerful within the Central Plains. However, in this northwestern region of the continent, even the stomping of their feet would cause the earth to shake. According to the latest news, adding up the experts of the Profound Lion sect, the Hall of Souls, and some others who have been coerced, they have around 30 or so individuals who have reached the Dozun class. On the other hand, the Yang Alliance has, at the very most, 10 of them. The number of experts that both sides have is completely disproportionate. That white-robed old man paused before continuing. They also have 30-plus Dozuns, huh? Xiao Yang gently crossed his fingers. His face revealed an expression of contemplation. Although the quality of the experts in the northwestern region could not be compared to the Central Plains, they should also not be underestimated. After all, this continent was extremely vast. The Hall of Souls was naturally able to find some experts to aid them by using some tactics. Hence, Xiao Yang was not surprised that the Profound Lion sect would have so many experts helping them. On the other hand, the strongest person in the Yang Alliance when he left back then was Kaylin, who had been a 4 or 5-star Dozun. After these years of training, she probably reached the Dozun class. After all, she possessed the bloodline of the 7-colored heaven-swallowing python, and her original talent was quite great. She would naturally be able to gain twice the results with half the effort when she trained. However, regardless of how strong Kaylin was, she was only one person. Xiao Yang's expectations were far exceeds when he learned that the Yang Alliance possessed 10 elite Dozun. This kind of strength could be considered a top-tier faction even in the Central Plains. One could imagine just how swift and fierce the Yang Alliance had developed over the years. How many experts at the 6-star Dozun class or higher does the Profound Lion sect have? Xiao Yan hesitated for a moment before suddenly asking. The gap between every star within the Dozun class was extremely large. For example, if Xiao Yang were to face 10 1-star elite Dozuns, they would not be able to cause him much harm. The profound lion sect should have 8 people above a 6-star Dozun. There are 4 among them who have reached the 8th star of the Dozun level. However, we do not know if the Hall of Souls has secretly sent any stronger people. The white-robed elder replied. Thank you, Elder Xia. Xiao Yang nodded and softly responded. Junior Pavilion Chief is too polite. Let's go. We'll increase our speed and try to reach the mysterious yellow sky stream before evening. Xiao Yang softly exhaled. He immediately waved his hand and his toes pressed on the ground. The space in front of him fluctuated, and his body slowly disappeared. The large group behind him was unsurprised when they saw him disappear. Each of them moved their bodies and shot forward. Rumble. Dense dark clouds covered the sky above the mysterious yellow sky stream. A low rolling thunder sounded and resounded unceasingly within a 50-kilometer radius. The permeating black fog gradually scattered outside the mysterious yellow fortress. When the black fog scattered, it revealed a countless number of figures hidden within it. The endless sea of people stretched to the horizon as shocking battle cries spread from the army in a deafening manner. Even the mountain range began to tremble because of these battle cries. Countless warriors from the Yang Alliance stood on the towering fortress walls and watched the sea of people in the distance with grave expressions. The Yang Alliance might have met many enemies while it had expanded over the years, but not once had it been suppressed to the point that it could not retaliate, until now. Everyone let out a long sigh in their hearts. Their eyes shifted slightly before finally pausing on the middle of the wall. A pretty figure stood proudly at that spot. She was wearing narrow and tight-fitting red armor. The hard armor had difficulty hiding the alluring curves of her snake-like waist. Even at this moment, her cold enchanting face did not reveal the slightest weakness. During these years, this woman, who was so beautiful that she appeared like the devil, had led the Yang Alliance out of the Jiomar Empire to create one of the strongest factions in the northwestern corner of the continent. She had allowed the Jiomar Empire, which was originally a relatively small and weak empire, to gain a place in the northwestern sphere. In the hearts of some of the Yang Alliance's experts, her position in the Yang Alliance was one that no one could truly replace. From a certain point of view, even the founder of the Yang Alliance could not reach her status. Are they finally about to attack? Kaylin's long eyes stared at the black fog that had scattered in the distance. Her hand slowly wrapped around the longsword on her narrow waist. She pressed her red lips together as her face was covered with an icy-cold decisiveness. Kaylin, you should grab Xiao and leave should we fail to block them. Xiao Ding sat on a wheelchair. His eyes looked at the permeating black fog from afar as he softly spoke. This is third brother's child. Nothing must happen to her. Xiao Li by the side also revealed a grave expression on his face as he spoke in a deep voice. Kaylin shook her head when she heard the words of those two. She turned her head and looked beside her. There was a little girl in white clothes there. The little girl appeared to be 4 or 5 years old. She appeared like beautifully carved jade and was extremely cute. There was a small 7-colored snake symbol on her brows. Her large dark black eyes contained a spirituality that caused one to feel the desire to hold her. One could be mesmerized by her. Only when one recovered would one quietly feel awed. She already possessed such an unusual enchantment at such a young age. Would she not be even more bewitching than her mother when she grew up? Kaylin looked at the little girl. A doting expression appeared in her narrow icy eyes. She knelt down and gently hugged the little girl. The little girl seemed to be aware that the atmosphere was not quite right, but she did not cry. Her little hands hugged Kaylin's long neck as she said in a crisp voice, "Mummy, there is no need to be afraid. First Uncle said that Father will return." Kaylin curled her mouth when she heard this. She hugged the little girl before lifting her head a moment later. She looked at the little fairy doctor and softly asked, "Will he really return?" "He should require about half a year in the heavenly tomb. Counting the time, he should have already left the GU realm. Yao Lao will definitely inform him about the problems here once he reaches the Falling Star Pavilion. Given his character, he will hurry over as quickly as possible." The little fairy doctor nodded as she replied. Kaylin gently blinked her eyes but did not speak. Her hand gently patted the little head of the girl in her embrace. After which, she stared at little the fairy doctor and said, "Should the fortress fall, you should grab Xiao Xiao and leave. If anything happens to her, I will never forgive Xiao Yang no matter what he does, even if I die." The little fairy doctor was slightly startled. She searched Kaylin's tightly pressed mouth before quietly nodding. She was clearly aware of Kaylin's character. She was always haughty and would definitely do what she claimed. "Kaylin, you have already done too much for the Yang Alliance and the Xiao clan during these years. If we can successfully get through this, I will definitely get Xiao Yang to formally marry you into our Xiao clan." Xiao Ding by the side softly sighed when he saw this act before speaking in a deep voice. He had witnessed all that Kaylin had done for the Yang Alliance and the Xiao clan during these years. Back then, Xiao Yang had founded the Yang Alliance only to throw this a big burden onto Kaylin's shoulders. He was aware that Xiao Yang had to leave in order to rescue their father, but Kaylin, being a woman, had not only helped him give birth to a daughter, she had even helped manage the Yang Alliance. This kind of sacrifice was extensive. Big brother is right. Once that little fellow returns, we will definitely resolve this matter. Xiao Li heavily nodded. Both he and Xiao Ding had always viewed Xiao Yang as the most important person of the clan. This time around, they would definitely side with their sister-in-law no matter what. Let's first get through the trouble in front of us before talking about this. Kaylin placed little Xiao Xiao, who was still in her embrace, down. A black-clothed young figure also surfaced within her mind. She gently bit her lower red lip as a complicated emotion flashed across her pretty eyes. Things would be alright if the queen of the Snake People tribe did not marry, but if she really gave her heart to someone, she'd be extremely loyal to that person. If her beloved died, her heart would die with him. This was the tradition of the Snake People tribe's Queen Medusa bloodline. Hence, Kaylin understood that she would never be able to forget that person in her lifetime. Despite having been apart for many years, that figure did not fade. Instead, that figure had been etched even deeper into her memory. Rumble. A deafening drum suddenly appeared in the distant black fog when Kaylin stood up. Immediately, many figures rushed out of the black fog and remained suspended in the sky. A powerful aura spread and covered the fortress. A strong-looking middle-aged man stood in the sky. He carried a huge golden blade. His eyes displayed an unusual excitement as he stared at the enchanting figure on the wall of the fortress. A loud laugh that was mixed with an overbearing tone resounded over the sky. "Ha ha, Medusa, have you thought things through? Are you going to surrender to my Profound Lion sect, or will my Profound Lion sect slaughter everyone in your Yang Alliance?" A cold expression flashed across Kaylin's long narrow eyes when she heard the overbearing laughter that echoed across the sky. She gently took a step forward and glanced at the many figures in the distant sky. Her calm voice did not quiver even a little because of the current situation. Having managed the Yang Alliance for many years, she, who was already the queen of the Snake People tribe, would not feel even the slightest fear in such a situation. The Yang Alliance only has warriors who die in battle and no deserters who surrender. The golden-haired middle-aged man stood proudly in the sky. His large golden blade reflected a dense luster. He was not irritated when he heard Kaylin's words. Instead, he loudly laughed. That heat within his eyes became even more intense. A woman with strong character was more suitable to his taste. Who in the northwestern region was not aware of the cold and beautiful Kaylin of the Yang Alliance? If he was able to capture her in this battle and keep her as his exclusive domain, any other battle would be nothing. There were women in this world whose every frown and smile could stir a war. Clearly, Kaylin belonged to that category. Medusa, you should be clearly aware that the Yang Alliance is foolishly resisting. With your strength, it is impossible to compare with us. As long as your Yang Alliance agrees to submit to my Profound Lion sect and hand over all the members of the Xiao clan, I will use my position as the sect chief of the Profound Lion sect to guarantee that not a single person from the Yang Alliance will be hurt. The golden-haired man faintly laughed. Activate the formation. Kaylin merely glanced at the man as he laughed. After which, a soft icy-cold cry was emitted from her mouth. Understood. Nervous responses immediately appeared from the surroundings following Kaylin's soft cry. The sky outside of the fortress trembled, and an enormous energy barrier slowly covered the entire fortress. Finally, it stood between both armies. "Archers, get ready!" Kaylin once again coldly commanded. The creaking sound of bows being pulled immediately resonated again and again. Many 70 to 80-foot large ballistas were rapidly being loaded by a few people. 20-foot-long sharp arrows emitted cold lusters as they stood at the ready. These ballistas and arrows had been built by the Yang Alliance using special materials. When they were used by a couple of Do Ling warriors, their might could penetrate a careless Do Huang and firmly nail that Do Huang to the ground. The golden-haired man involuntarily frowned when he saw that his voice had attracted these things instead of a response. "Xiao, stop uttering such nonsense. If you like that woman, we will capture her and give her to you once the fortress falls. If those members of the Xiao clan end up escaping because of you, you will not be able to bear the responsibility." A cold and sinister voice suddenly sounded from behind while the golden-haired man was frowning. The expression of that middle-aged man called Xiao changed when he heard this voice. He turned his head and glanced at a black-cloaked elder standing in the air. Many spiritual bodies were lingering around this elder. Their miserable screeches caused one to feel a chill within one's heart. This person's dark and stern face was filled with a familiarity. Upon closer observation, it was the 9th Tianzuan, who had once led the experts from the Hall of Souls to attack the Falling Star Pavilion. 9th Tianzuan worries too much. The current Yang Alliance is as good as dead. That little strength is not even worth mentioning in our eyes. How could it be possible to let the members of the Xiao clan escape? Xiao laughed. "You should understand the consequence if any mishaps occur." 9th Tianzuan glanced at him and felt a little impatient. This person from this barbaric land only possessed the strength of a 6-star Dozun, yet he was incomparably arrogant. He was ignorant that this little strength was only an ordinary existence. Xiao dryly laughed. He also seemed to be aware of 9th Tianzuan's impatience. He didn't feel like uttering any more unnecessary words. He lifted his head and looked at the strong defense of the fortress. A moment later, he suddenly raised his hand as a loud cry was emitted. "Medusa, your last chance has been forfeited by you. Everyone listen up. Attack! Charge!" The ocean-like army outside of the fortress suddenly unleashed an earth-shaking battle cry after they heard Xiao's loud roar. The entire land quickly trembled. The seemingly endless army charged toward the fortress like floodwater with a surging desire to kill. The expression of everyone on the fortress was a little grave as they sensed the murderous aura that had suddenly spread over the sky. Their hands tightened on their weapon. Waves of the sound of rushing wind immediately erupted from the fortress when the floodwater-like army surged over. The huge arrows from earlier shot out like clusters of dark cloud. They landed on the profound lion sect's army and miserable cries suddenly sounded. Kaylin watched a countless number of soldiers get nailed into the ground from the wall. There was not the slightest fluctuation in her pretty eyes. She slowly lifted her head and looked at the sky. There were 100 people standing in the air at that spot. Behind these 100 people were densely packed Do Wangs flapping their Do Chi wings and Do Huangs. This unit was the most frightening. Attack! Break the energy barrier. Xiao watched the army below, which had been stopped 1,000 feet from the fortress. His face did not show the slightest pain. The army below consisted of people weaker than a Do Wang, making them cannon fodder. The ones who could truly shake the Yang Alliance were the elites in the sky. The experts in the sky finally began to form a semicircle with the wave of Xiao's hand. They swiftly approached the fortress. A loud cry sounded and wave after wave of powerful Do Chi pillars whistled through the sky. They rushed toward the Do Chi barrier from all directions. Bang bang bang. Countless energy pillars exploded against the energy barrier, causing it to fluctuate and form many circular ripples. Archers, change targets. All experts at the Do Wang class and above, retaliate and stabilize the energy barrier. Cai Lin issued numerous orders in an orderly fashion as the profound lion sect attacked. She had become unusually familiar with these kinds of battles over the years. Kalin's words had just sounded when the enormous arrow suddenly shifted. The densely packed arrow clouds spread apart in the sky. They were accompanied by the whistling sound of rushing wind as they ruthlessly shot toward those experts from the profound lion sect in the sky. Even though these experts were quite skilled, the bodies of quite a number of them were forcefully penetrated by this attack. Many bodies dropped to the ground like kites with broken strings. However, this bloody battle had caused the experts from both sides to turn mad from fighting. Many powerful Do Chi figures whizzed toward the sky and ruthlessly took turns striking each other. Bang bang. Densely packed attacks continuously poured down on the energy barrier. The ripples on the barrier had become more intense. Due to the defenses of the energy barrier, the rate at which the profound lion sect's experts fell clearly exceeded that of the Yang Alliance. They should be sufficiently exhausted. Xiao watched the continuously rippling energy barrier from the sky. He smiled while his hand slowly displayed a strange hand signal. The reason that the profound lion sect could dominate nearly half of the northwestern continent was not because of these Do Wangs and Do Huangs. Instead, it was because of their elite Do Zones and Do Zuns. After Xiao displayed this hand signal, the black fog behind him slowly tore apart. Nearly 100 figures slowly walked forward. There were 30 individuals with frighteningly strong auras. The appearance of these people caused this entire area to tremble a little. Kalin and the others on the wall finally revealed a change in expression when these people appeared. These people would determine the victor of this battle. Rumble. The 100 figures slowly walked through the air. The enormous arrows that came flying over would automatically explode when they were 1,000 feet from them. The 100 figures finally halted when they were still 1,000 feet away from the fortress. They let out a cold cry in union. One could see wave after wave of majestic Do Chi surging from their bodies before gathering in the sky. The Do Chi in the sky formed a 10,000-foot-wide energy beast. The enormous beast took shape. 200-foot-long white streams of smoke were released from its nostrils. After which, it walked through empty air and ruthlessly collided with the energy barrier of the fortress in front of countless pairs of shocked eyes. Although there were ferocious attacks coming from the fortress and smashing into the enormous beast, they were unable to block the beast. The enormous beast strode across the sky. It endured an incomparably crazy attack as it heavily knocked against the energy barrier in front of many pale faces. These pale faces belonged to the members of the Yang Alliance. Bang! The entire place seemed to grow quiet because of the collision. A circular energy ripple began to swiftly spread from the point of the collision. Finally, one heard a bang. The energy barrier in the sky emitted a loud explosive sound in front of many shocked gazes and suddenly exploded apart. Cai Lin slowly clenched her hand when the energy barrier burst apart. An icy-cold voice resounded beside the ears of everyone on the wall. Everyone, the northwestern region might be large, but we no longer have any path of retreat because behind us lies our empire and its land. If your heart still possesses a fire, pick up your weapons and fight to the end. Roar? Fight till the end. That cold voice instantly caused the eyes of all the warriors from the Yang Alliance to redden. A trembling excitement spread from deep within his heart. It transformed into a furious roar echo to the sky. This video will end.